Blessed day, guys, and peace be upon you this morning. So in this video, we are going to learn how to configure a dedicated DHCP server, DNS server, and web server. And we're going to use this topology to achieve the objective. So before I proceed further, I will open our Google spreadsheet to let you know that today we are going through number 7, part 1, DHCP, DNS, and web. So that the part 2 will be email and FTP servers, right? Okay, so without any further ado, I will open our our notepad to let you know the steps that we're going to follow to configure the 3. So the first step is always to draw the necessary topology, decorate, and comment. So this is a very simple topology that I drew. You can see I used 2911 router. Then I used 2 access layer switches. So one switch is connecting to our office LAN, and another switch is connected to our switch, our office LAN switch. And this switch is going to our server room or data center LAN. Okay, and here are the servers. The servers should have a static IP address. We're going to configure them. Okay, all right. So make sure that you have similar diagram. Okay. All right, we are not going to touch anything on the switches. We're just going to configure the 3 and maybe the router, because the router will act as the default gateway of the 2 LANs. Okay. All right. So the 2 LANs belong to the same subnet, which is this one. Okay. All right. So let's proceed to step 2. Configure IP address to the router's interface and static IP address to the servers. Remember, in the network, it's a good practice to assign a static address to your servers. Okay, so the first thing, we have to assign IP address to our default gateway, and you can see the comment has already highlighted here that the default gateway should have 10.1. okay, all right. So default gateway of the 2 LANs, okay, will be the IP address of this interface, which is let me see which interface is this, gig 00. So the IP address of gig 00 should be the default gateway of the entire LAN. Okay, all right. So I'll click on the router and put it somewhere here, and just say no. Enable config T. Okay, then its interface gig 0/0. Okay, then you can see the router's interfaces by default they are in shutdown state. So let's turn it up. Just say no shutdown, and you hit enter. Now it's green, and before exiting we need to assign it an IP address. Okay, all right. So the IP address there, IP add to be 102.168.10.1. okay, with subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, and you hit enter. Okay, and we do right. That's all. Now we are done. Now we are done configuring everything on the router. So we move down to the server room LAN to configure the servers with static IP address as indicated here. The first server that I will configure is the DNS server. Okay, before I configure DHCP or web, I'll configure IP address to DNS server, and I will give it 10.6. Just go to the DNS server and come to desktop IP configuration and give it that IP address. So it must remain that one, the default gateway, that one, .1. Okay, then the DNS server, it is its own address. Okay, very important, don't forget this. Okay, then we come to our DHCP server. Now come to desktop, then that one, it's .5. okay, all right. Then this one is .1. okay, then DNS server, very important, should be the IP address of our DNS server. Okay, don't forget that. All right, close. Come to our web server, come desktop, that one, then IP address .7. Subnet mask remain that one, default gateway .1, and DNS server is the IP address of our dedicated DNS server. Okay, all right. So to test, let's test if these hosts can reach our default gateway, which is the IP address of this router, this interface here. Okay, so ping paste.1. So that's all we need here. As long as they can reach the default gateway, then that's all, right? Okay, so let's go back to our notepad. Step 3 now. On the DHCP server device, create pools, assign network, default gateway, and DNS address. Okay, all right. So in the dedicated DHCP server device, we don't assign network. We only assign subnet mask. Okay, we assign subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS. Okay, all right, and the number of required usable IPs. Okay, all right. So let's go to the DHCP server to configure the number of usable IP, subnet mask, default gateway, DNS server in that pool that we'll create. Okay, remember we're going to create only one pool for office LAN. Okay, all right. So I just go to DHCP server, then we come to services, and we come to DHCP. I will repeat. You come to services, and you click DHCP. The first thing that you do when you reach here, make sure you turn this one on, okay, and you change the default pool to 000. Turn everything to 000 because we don't want conflict. We want to create our own pool. That's the default pool. We don't want that default pool. Okay, change everything to 000. Okay, all right, and just save. Okay, so our default pool is 000, so it cannot do anything. So let's add a new pool. Let's say office LAN. So we just modify this one. Just say office LAN pool, and you assign the default gateway. The default gateway should be the IP address of this router here. Okay, the interface 192.168.10.1. okay, very simple. Then the DNS server, very important. The IP address of this DNS server, and I paste because I copied it. Then the range of the number of IP address, the range that we want to, let's say we want our DHCP server to start giving out IP addresses from 10.11. okay, so we just say start from 192.168.10.11. so any host will start getting IP address from .11. Then we assign the subnet mask of this pool. The subnet mask is 255 and 255 255. Okay, then say maximum number of users. How many users do we want in the network? Let's say we only want 100 users. Okay, so after modifying the default pool that was there into your own desired pool, make sure you click add, because if you click save, it will override that one. Okay, just click add. So if you can just preview, the first pool was the default, it has nothing. The second pool is our office LAN pool. It has the desired configuration that we want. The pool name is this one. The default gateway is the IP address of that router. DNS, as we talked about, very important. Then we want it to start giving IP address from 10.11. okay, the subnet mask of this LAN is 255.255.0, not 255, sorry, 255.255.0. okay, then the maximum number of users that we want this DHCP server to give our office LAN. Let's say it's 100. Sorry, I messed here. Okay, because I put here 255 at first, so I've modified it. So let's say it be 100. Then now you save because it's a new pool. Okay, all right. So when you go back to our step 4, go to every PC and change option to DHCP. Always make sure that this one is on, the service is on, right? Okay, so I'll go to this PC. I come back to that one. I'll now do it very fast to save time. Alright, so if I can just go back and try to hover over any PC, you will see it has picked IP address from this DHCP server. So let's try. You can see it has IP address from the server. So if you can just click on desktop and come to IP, you will see it has IP address from .11. So we've done DHCP server configuration. So let's see what's next. Configure this DNS server to translate web server IP address to gtech.com. How to configure DNS server for translation, to translate IP address into domain name and domain name back to IP address. How do you do that? So let's say our web server is I'll comment is gtech.com and I copy it. Okay, all right, so our web server is gtech.com. okay, so if you go to gtech.com, you are being directed here on our web server. So we go to DNS server to translate web server IP address to gtech.com. okay, so we click on DNS, we come to services, we come to DNS. okay, make sure it's on. The first thing, always make sure it's on. okay, all right, so the name, we want the name is gtech.com. then the address, now to translate the IP address of the web server to gtech.com. the IP address web server is 192.168.10.7. and what do? You just add. That's all. So this says that go to web server and modify index.html. okay, all right, so go to web server and modify index.html so that whenever host tries to reach the web server, some text will be displayed, the text that we've just configured. Let's say we've hosted our website here, so let's host our website here. okay, click on the web server, come to services, then come to HTTP. okay, all right, so this is the index.html that we are talking about. So let's modify it. So we want to modify it. If you're good in HTML, you know what this means. okay, so I'll just go to what can I say, let me just copy these steps. I'll just copy those steps and try to paste them inside this HR. okay, that's HR tag. okay, and I paste that and you save, click save. That's all, and you close. So whenever we go to any PC here and we try to access web server, the DNS server here will translate that into the IP address of the web server. okay, all right, so the web server will respond with the request that we made, with the content of the HTML files that we just edited. So let's see. Try to access the web server from any PC by entering gtech.com on the browser URL. So I'll just copy gtech.com and go to any computer here. Let's say this one. Then click on desktop, then click on web browser. Give it some time, it will load and finally come. When it comes, paste the domain name and click go. You see, things that I've just modified, the content of what I just copied here. okay, so if I just close this and I click on command prompt again and say ns lookup to look up this domain gtech.com and I hit enter, you can see the server is 10.6. okay, that's our DNS server, the server that is doing translation. okay, then gtech.com is our web server. okay, if you do the lookup, you will see that our DNS server is the one doing the translation. Then it's translating this gtech.com into this IP address, which is for our web server. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, guys. I believe that video has really helped you now to configure DHCP server, DNS server, and web server. So when we meet next, let's do email and FTP. So thank you so much. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share with a friend, and drop a comment below. Bye.